Gravity baby. In the endless void where stars blinked like distant promises, the starship Ascendant drifted with silent purpose. Its gleaming hull reflected the endless night, a beacon of human ingenuity cruising far beyond the reach of Earth. Inside this colossal vessel, tucked away in a vegetative bay designed for the miracle of life, a child had been born, a child unlike any other. Dr. Alara Miles, the lead physicist of the Ascendant's interdisciplinary crew, had been present at the birth. Though trained extensively in space medicine, the intuition she brought to the moment was uniquely human. She held the newborn, a small bundle wrapped in thermal fibers, her glazed eyes reflecting a mixture of wonder and fatigue. The child's name was Erin, named after the constellation Erina, said to be the guide through cosmic storms. The baby came into this world far from the cradle of Earth. The crew celebrated subtly. Births in deep space were rare, precious events, symbols of life persisting in inhospitable realms. But subtle celebration would turn into confusion, and then alarm. A week after Erin's birth, subtle anomalies began to manifest on the ship. Initially, they were dismissed as sensor glitches or the byproducts of the Ascendant's complex operation. But as days progressed, the small variations aggregated into undeniable phenomena. Gravity shifts, localized, unpredictable, rippled through the ship's compartments. The first incident occurred deep within the observation deck. Ensign Cao, a veteran pilot with nerves of steel, reported feeling weird heaviness, as if invisible hands pressed upon him more insistently than anticipated. Objects intended to float freely for experiments suddenly fell, smacking against the deck. Engineer Malik was dispatched to investigate, recalibrating the gravimetric stabilizers and running diagnostics. Yet he found no malfunctions. "It's like the gravity's playing favorites," he muttered, brow furrowed. The chief engineer admitted the system was within normal parameters. Things escalated. One afternoon, in the hydroponics bay, Drive Rosalind Shui noticed water droplets forming strangely along the surfaces, curving upward against their usual trajectories. "Capillary action doesn't behave like this," she mused aloud, carefully documenting the phenomenon. She sent her findings to Alara, suspecting they might be connected to those gravity fluctuations. Alara's mind raced. The naval officers were soon jittery, murmurs flitting across the command center like static electricity. The Ascendant's artificial gravity was fully dependent on grav generators, precise machines calibrated to Earth normal gravity or adapted levels for zero-G tasks. Any change in gravitational constants raised alarms about structural integrity, safe navigation, and the crew's well-being. Over several shifts, multiple systems began to experience disturbances. Elevator cables tightened erratically. Monitors drifted from their magnetic anchors. Delicate specimens on lab trays plunged or hovered out of place. Even the convoys of waste recycling drones encountered difficulty maintaining stable flight patterns. The crew gathered, gravely discussing options. The captain, Arlen Rivas, called for a meeting in the control hub. The consensus was clear. The gravity fluctuations were real, contagious in their destabilizing effect, and seemingly centered around a variable none had yet pinpointed. Then came the turning point. Late one night, Alara was called to the nursery module after the grav sensors picked up an intense gravitational spike. Entering softly, she saw Erin cradled in his bassinet, his tiny limbs lightly stirring the air as if directly communicating with the unseen forces around him. The gravimetric sensors, fixed around the nursery, showed a swell in gravitational intensity that correlated with Erin's moments of heightened activity. When he cooed or stretched his fingers, the localized gravity intensified. When he slept or quietly rested, gravity ebbed back toward baseline. Alara's scientific curiosity overrode her caution. She placed a hand gently near Erin, watching as the grav sensors spiked. Tiny toys rose and fell rhythmically, responding intuitively to his whims. "This can't be," she murmured. "A biological entity influencing gravity itself? But how?" Alara requested an immediate full scan of Erin's physiology. The doctors and researchers collaborated, using every resource at their disposal: nanoprobes, quantum bioimaging, grav spectrum analyzers. The results were baffling. Erin's cells contained traces of an exotic quantum particle nobody else on board exhibited. These particles, tentatively dubbed gravitons, were thought to be fundamental quanta of gravity itself, but humans had never detected them directly within biology. More curiously, Erin seemed to be creating a small field of influence around himself, bending local spacetime subtly, enough to alter gravity within the immediate radius of the nursery and, by extension, affecting the entire ship through feedback amplification. Why Erin developed this impossible trait was a mystery. No prior births in space had shown such effects. The crew speculated about cosmic radiation influence, unknown genetics, or even exposure to dark matter particles collected by the ship's sensors. Arlen grew concerned. "If this phenomenon escalates," he said gravely, "it could compromise the integrity of the entire ascendant." He convened a contingency committee to consider options including quarantine, relocation, or controversial experimental treatments. Alara argued passionately against drastic measures. "This child is not a threat. He is a phenomenon. If we destroy him or coddle him in isolation, we lose the chance to understand the universe's hidden forces." But the ship's engineers were cautious. Turbulence in gravity created unpredictable mechanical stresses. The Ascendant's core reactor experienced a minor anomaly as gravity waves fluctuated, triggering emergency protocols. The realization dawned that Erin's presence could destabilize the entire mission. In this turmoil, Alara formed a bond with Erin unlike any other on board. She spent hours beside his crib, observing the child and trying gentle interactions. Over time, she noted that Erin's gravitational effects resonated with his emotional states. Happiness and calm induced smooth gravity shifts. Distress or crying caused chaotic spikes. One evening, after a particularly vivid grav burst knocked critical systems offline for minutes, the crew decided to isolate Erin in a low-gravity chamber designed to dampen his effects. As Alara prepared to transfer him, Erin grasped her finger with a grip far stronger than expected for his age. In that grasp, Alara sensed an intense connection, one that transmitted warmth, a tacit message of reliance, perhaps even understanding. The low-gravity chamber worked temporarily but proved stressful for Erin. His gravitational signature weakened, causing a general loss of the ship's vital grav field, putting the crew in zero-G conditions that complicated daily life drastically. Alara proposed a new approach. What if Erin could learn to regulate this gravitational energy himself? With biofeedback training, careful emotional support, and gradual exposure, maybe the child could harmonize with the ship's gravitic systems rather than disrupting them. The crew was skeptical, but the alternative, caging Erin or ending his life, was unthinkable to many. So began an unprecedented experiment. Alara designed a cradle embedded with grav sensors and neural interfaces, gently monitoring Erin's brain activity alongside his gravitational emissions. Using soothing music, light displays, and gentle physical stimuli, she sought patterns that corresponded to different grav effects. Slowly, Erin responded. By 6 months, he could, with intention and calmness, modulate small gravity fields intentionally enough to keep the ship's grav generators stable. Touching a toy caused it to hover. A smile would slightly lighten gravity around him. Tears or frustration disrupted this delicate harmony. This progress changed everything. The crew embraced Aaron's unique gift not as a curse but as part of their extended family, the symbolic emblem of human adaptation in a cosmos that seemed increasingly alive and mysterious. Alara became a mother figure, a scientist, and a guardian to a child who was biologically intertwined with the very forces holding the Ascendant together. Years passed. Aaron grew, physically and mentally. His gravitational field extended beyond the nursery, adapting and strengthening through practice. The Ascendant's engineers redesigned the ship's systems to interact symbiotically with him, using his natural abilities to compensate for dwindling energy supplies and to adjust navigational parameters dynamically. In one breathtaking test, Aaron's focused gravitational field gently pulled a microscopic asteroid sample from a containment module without mechanical means, an act that sparked cheers across the ship. But with growth came challenges. Attuning to the cosmos, Aaron's gravity began to fluctuate more widely. Stellar events, solar flares, passing comets, played havoc with his natural rhythms. The crew monitored him constantly, ensuring his health and the ship's safety. Captain Arlen Rivas saw Aaron as the future of human space exploration, a beacon of humanity's innate capability to entwine with the universe. During a deep space survey, the Ascendant encountered a massive gravitational anomaly, a collapsing star emitting ripples that threatened to disturb their passage. The ship's conventional grav systems recalibrated wildly, but Aaron, now 12 years old, stepped onto the command deck, his presence a calming force. Focusing intently, he generated a localized gravitational field that anchored the ship steadily, allowing safe passage through the volatile region. Onlookers were awed. Children born on Earth, unused to gravity's mercurial embrace, gazed at him like a space god. Scientists and commanders alike saw in Aaron the promise of new frontiers between biology and physics, a hybrid species capable of wielding space itself. One night, after another day of quiet gravitation training, Alara sat with Aaron in the nursery, now a multi-functional lab filled with plants and instruments. She stroked his hair softly. "You're made of stars," she whispered. "Made to move the universe in your hands." Aaron smiled, eyes glimmering with infinite potential. The starship Ascendant continued its voyage. A family carried by the mysterious gravity baby, whose heartbeat pulsed not just through flesh, but through the very fabric of space and time. Like and subscribe for more stories.